If you're looking to collect multiple different mid-tier pets and adopt me like I have right here, then you're in the right place. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you my top tips to get a mid-tier pet. So first, please like the video and subscribe to my channel so you never miss my content. Hello everyone, I'm CayZura, and throughout my time playing Adopt Me, I've amassed quite a few mid-tier pets. Typically, people with mid-tiers are either looking to number 1, trade their pets up into high tiers, or number 2, trade their mid-tier pet into a variety of other lower tier pets that usually still have decent demand. I will be explaining case number 2 as it applies most of the video. So first, let's go over some Adopt Me abbreviations and definitions. So first, of course, we have mid-tiers, otherwise known as MT, which you may see online or in people's profiles. Mid-tiers are pets that are in good demand and rank in the middle of the Adopt Me value system, as the name suggests. This means that mid-tiers are better than low tiers in value and demand, but not quite as good as the high-tier pets. Here are some well-recognised examples of high tiers, some classics being the Bat Dragon, the Shadow Dragon, the Frost Dragon, and the Giraffe. Some examples of low tiers include the Unicorn, Dragon, King Bee, and Vanilla Penguin. Mid-tiers sit here in the middle, and in my opinion are between the value of an elephant right up to a cryptid, which is a pet that is currently rising in demand at the time of making this video, so this may change in the future. If anyone has any different opinions, I'm happy to discuss with you in the comments, as I love learning about what other people think about this. Now, let's talk about value and how it is affected by supply and demand. In order to work your way up to a mid-tier, you must first have an understanding of value, supply, and demand. Value refers to how much a pet is worth, and this is determined by factors such as how old it is, how much people like it, the rarity, and how much it costs. Now, demand refers to how much someone wants a pet. A good way to look at demand is that a unicorn and a dragon are both from the exact same egg. There is the exact same percentage chance to get both a unicorn and a dragon. So naturally, based on percentages, you would think that they are worth the same, right? Well, no. Because the demand for the unicorn is higher, the value of it is influenced by the number of players that like it and want the pet, despite it being just as easy to get as a dragon. Supply refers to how many of the pet are available. So the supply of bat dragons is much lower than the supply of unicorns, and bat dragons are out of the game, so very few people that bought one at the time are likely to be still playing, whereas unicorns are readily available. So values have always existed in Adopt Me, but now there are value sites that can help you when trading. Before, the community had a set of predefined values that people just knew about. For example, in 2020, a Neon Flyride Frost Dragon used to be worth a Flyride Shadow Dragon and a Flyride Frost Dragon, and that is what would be considered a fair and reasonable trade to aim for. But now, with the introduction of value sites and the change in pet demand, that would be considered a massive overpay. The two most common value sites are Elfbred and AMVGG in their current state at the time of making this video. From my experience, Elfbred is good for determining base value, and AMVGG is better to understand the demand of a pet. My advice is that you should use value sites as a guideline. It'll be difficult to avoid value sites completely and still make great trades, as it is a thing that everyone is using and a lot of people will expect an overpay, which is why it's important to be careful when deciding whether or not to do a trade. The reason why you have to be careful is because both hard to trade and easy to trade pets exist. Easy to trade pets, or ETT pets, are pets with good demand that people like and want to offer for. Think of the unicorn, the turtle, and the cow. It's pretty much the pets you'd expect a lot of people to have in their looking fors in their profile. Then, hard to trade pets, or HTT pets, are the pets that people like to avoid. So typically these are the golden dragons, the golden griffins, the diamond pets, the metalorcs, and the glawmy dolphin. Many factors can decide whether a pet will be easy or hard to trade, but normally it is a combination of how easy the pet was to get, this is the supply, the rarity of the pet, and how cute players think the pet is to look at, this is the demand. So, as an example, I would recommend that you avoid trading any pet that has good demand for a bunch of low demand pets of the same or lower value. If you are trading a pet that is in high demand, you should accept pets of similar demand and value, or only accept a set of low demand pets if there is a good enough overpay for you to still be able to make profit. This is why it is important to know when to overpay. I overpay when necessary for the pets that I want, but at the same time, it is okay to expect overpays for your own pets that are in good demand. For example, I recently made this offer for a strawberry bat dragon. At the time of me making this offer, I overpaid according to Elfbred. However, it is important to note that this overpay was necessary for me, as my mega dragon has quite low demand and not many people would be willing to trade it for the full value. I would say that this is a beneficial trade for both of us, as I have traded my pets into a mid-tier strawberry shortcake bat dragon that has good demand, and the other trader has got a decent overpay that I'm sure that they can use to make good profit in the future. This is what I traded for to get the mega dragon, so as you can see, people are willing to accept slightly under the value for it, as it is a hard to trade or HTT pet. But this set of neons that I gave can definitely help the other player to trade towards a better set of pets. The next tip that I have when you're working towards a mid-tier pet is that you should have a goal in mind. If you currently do not have a mid-tier, then I would recommend a kangaroo as being a great starting point. It is at the lower end of the scale of mid-tier pets and is in good supply, making it a lot easier to find compared to an albino monkey or an elephant, which are of similar value. This is why I mentioned the value sites beforehand. A good tip I have is to check the value sites in advance of making a trade, and this will help you get an idea of the sort of offers you should be making to reach your goal. And this will help you to pre-plan before you get into making an offer. One thing that I must mention is that when using value sites, you must be very careful of potential scams. There are a lot of scammers that exist on these sites where they make offers that are huge overpays to trick you into wanting to do the trade. However, when you try to do this trade, they will have a link in their profile that leads to a fake Roblox website, and if you sign into them, the other person will be able to gain access to your account. Do not click any links on these trading sites that lead to other platforms, and do not log into any of these other sites as they are unlikely to be safe. If you want to do a trade, you should get their username in writing in a form that is not a link, so that you can search it directly into the Roblox platform. So that's just a quick awareness message to be very careful and to not give your login details to anyone. Next, you need to build a good foundation of pets. If you are at a point where you do not have many low-tier legendaries, then I would recommend that you start earning some Adopt Me bucks and hatching eggs. If you complete tasks as a baby with a pet equipped, then you earn more bucks as you're completing twice the number of tasks at the same time. Then what you want to do is make neons and megas from what you hatch. I've been playing Adopt Me for a long time, and when I started out, all I would do is grind bucks to hatch eggs, and I would use what I hatched to make neons. People like neon pets, and they will be willing to overpay slightly for them in some cases. Start with something easy, like a common pet. If you don't have a lot of time, age these up, and then try to trade that neon common for at least one ultra rare. You should use the pet pen to help out with this. Here I traded my neon uncommon puma from the retired egg for an ultra rare Pomeranian, 2 retired eggs, a buffalo, kakapo, and a crocodile. This is a good example of how people do give some nice offers for neons, and you can then trade these for better legendary pets. Another slightly faster, but also in a way a more difficult method, as you need people to accept, is to trade the pets you hatched for the next rarity up and aim for a pet with slightly better demand. For example, if you have 2 uncommons, try to trade those for a rare. Then trade that rare pet with small ads for an ultra rare, and so on. If you have multiple ultra rares, trade a few of these together for a legendary pet, and then repeat this until you have a few different low-tier legendaries. A great foundation to work towards first are ride potions or fly potions. People like these items and they are willing to overpay for them. Always check people's journals. Oftentimes, I've seen people trade things like ride and fly potions for a full trade of 18 random pets. So if you put in a few rares and ultra rares, you can get your hands on a ride potion that can help you get a few low-tier legendaries. Checking people's profiles is so useful, as I've got so many great trades from people that are looking for something, so it is always a good idea to just check. Now, Once you have a ride potion, you are going to want to trade it for a few legendaries. I would recommend that you avoid really low demand legendaries like the Metal Ops or the Minion Chick, as you may struggle to get your value back from them. However, if these pets are included alongside a good overpay, or they are in neon form with some small ads to make up for the value, then do not be afraid to accept. Here, I traded a ride potion for a neon dragon, and here I traded a neon golden griffin for a fly potion, which may help you get an idea of which hard to trade pets are actually good to accept in some cases. Then, once you have a few low tier legendaries or even a low tier neon legendary, then you're going to look to try and upgrade these into other low tier legendary pets with slightly better demand and solid value, such as the fairy bat dragon. Now I'm going to explain the difference between upgrading and downgrading, as this is quite important when looking for a mid-tier, and I know people sometimes get confused by this. So upgrading is when you trade multiple pets for one or two better pets. Typically, when you upgrade, you overpay slightly, however, this may not be necessary in all cases. The overpay sort of acts to pay for the increase in demand or rarity you may be receiving. On the other hand, a downgrade is the opposite. It's when you trade typically one but maybe two pets for multiple different pets that may be of varying demand. Usually, if the pet you're downgrading is in high demand, then you should only accept multiple lower demand pets in return if there is a good enough overpay to still make profit. This is known as flipping for profit. When you flip a trade, you essentially trade for a bunch of pets, then use only some of those pets to get your exact pet back, or alternatively, you get a pet of similar or higher value whilst keeping the profit of everything else. So, to get your first mid-tier, you'd be looking to upgrade multiple of your pets into a better pet with a small overpay from your end to help encourage the other person to accept. By small overpay, I mean nothing more than a couple of ride potions in value. That should be enough unless you're offering multiple hard to trade pets, then a bigger overpay may be needed to get them to accept. A quick tip that helps with trading off your hard to trade pets is to combine them in your offer with nicer, easier to trade pets. Like in the example I showed earlier, my hard to trade Mega Dragon was combined with the easier to trade Neon Unicorn, and this helped with making the offer look a lot nicer overall. Here is a trade that I did for a Fairy Bat Dragon, which is a low tier legendary at the time of making this video, but it is at the highest scale of low tiers and does get decent overpays. The reason why I overpaid slightly for this pet is because I would prefer to have one pet with good demand and value rather than multiple pets and potions that spread the value between them. There is nothing wrong with having your value spread between multiple pets. In fact, in some cases, it's a good thing, as you're more likely to have something that someone is looking for, which is why people often downgrade their pets to have a better range of items when making offers. So the last tip I have for you is to make the most of events and new pet releases. The first hour of a pet release is where the demand is going to be the highest, as the pet will be new and many people will want it to add to their collection or just to make a neon or a mega. Therefore, if you can get one of these new pets as an update drops and then trade it quickly, you are likely to make good profit. Now you may be wondering, how would you get a new pet to make profit of if everyone is expecting overpays at the beginning of its release? Well, you have to be clever about your trades. If you move quickly, you can overpay for a pet as the release comes out with the goal of trading it for an even bigger overpay in return. I've done this quite a few times. Here's an example of some trades I did when the endangered egg was just released into the game. I traded a unicorn and a mega cherub chipmunk for a sea turtle, which as of right now is quite a good overpay. But then I immediately traded the sea turtle for a strawberry penguin, a ride potion and a fleur de ice, which is a great trade and an even better overpay than what I traded it for. Events are a great way to improve your inventory as long as you move quickly. Remember that every hour after an event has been released, the chances of you getting an overpay decreases. This is because the demand for the new pet gradually drops as the supply increases, making it easier to get the pet, and therefore people no longer need to overpay massively to get what they want. So to summarise, I would remind you all to get up to date on values and check current value sites such as the ones I mentioned previously as a guideline for your trades. Don't rely solely on value sites saying that a trade is a win for you, as you should be wary of low demand and hard to trade pets, and you should use your own judgment to decide whether it should be accepted or not. Next, I would say building a good foundation through neons and megas is so important. Unicorns, ride potions, and fly potions are always good to trade, and you will always find people that are happy to overpay for them as they are in good demand. Also, remember to trade carefully. You don't want to be stuck with a hard to trade pet without enough other pets to help you make an offer look a lot more attractive. So aim for easy to trade pets and accept hard to trade pets if there is a good enough overpay. So I hope this video will help you to get a mid-tier pet in Adopt Me. Please like and subscribe and share this with your Adopt Me friends if they are looking for a mid-tier pet too. Please let me know what you think of this video in the comments. I'm happy to discuss this further with all of you. I'm CayZura. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.